Welcome everybody to the next episode of the Cannabis Review. I'm delighted to be joined on this episode by Boris Moshkovits. Boris is the co-founder and the managing director of alephSana, a pharmaceutical wholesaler, importer and exporter. They've been providing the supply of individual cannabis therapies for patients since 2019. Boris, how are you keeping today?
All good. Thank you for having me.
I'm delighted to have you on now, man, who's a cornerstone of the European industry at the moment. It's great to maybe get you on and give everybody an overview of some of the things that are happening. Do you want to maybe give everybody a quick little review of how you ended up co-founding and managing director of alephSana?
Sure, it's been a ride. I mean, we started in 2019. We founded alephSana as a pharmaceutical wholesaler. I myself, I've been in this industry since 2016 as, let's say, an activist of a voice in the industry. At that point, it wasn't even an industry, but it was a group of people fighting for the right to have medical cannabis as a therapy. So by 2017, the law came about in Germany. That was the moment when it was legal to prescribe it and receive it through the pharmacies. And at that time, I found my first company for cultivation. Didn't work out. That tender was thrown out in court, so I started this company. alephSana has been in the industry since 2019. We got our licenses, and since 2020, we're selling pharmaceutical cannabis to pharmacies supplying patients all over Germany. There's 22,000 pharmacies in Germany, and more pharmacies are getting the hang of it, are understanding that it's a legit and viable medicine that is being provided.
Yeah, it seems to be Germany's going to be the cornerstone of the European industry, and what happens there should have good ripple effects across the industry. I'm going to start straight away with the first topic, which is the pharmaceutical cannabis industry. A pretty straightforward question. Where is the most pioneering in the pharmaceutical cannabis industry? Is it North America or is it Europe?
I believe we do take impulses from all over the world in Germany, but the advantage of Germany is that now that we've started, we're looking at Canada, at North America, but we're also looking at Israel, where pharmaceutical cannabis is basically all over the place in every pharmacy. And I would say that we have a lot of innovation here in the sense of providing to patients and then just the system, because we have the first system that is reimbursing medicinal cannabis for patients. So they apply and they get it no matter where they stand. But from a research point of view, I believe that there's a lot to be learned in the modes of delivery. And this is something that we see more in Israel than we see in North America. North America is, especially looking at the United States, it's still a lot flower driven, maybe extracts, but the future is more in formulations, finished products, medical devices. So there's a lot to do and a lot to be learned and gathered. And I think in that regard, Germany can be the melting pot of all the influences from around the world.
Okay, very interesting. You mentioned blends and formulations there. It's one of the key things that we think is going to be the future of the pharmaceutical side of the industry. And it brings me on to the next topic I wanted to talk about, which is the Dawn of BioSynthesis. So you guys supply dronabinol, which is a synthetic THC product. Do you see biosynthesis becoming a cornerstone of the pharmaceutical cannabis industry, or is it still a number of years away from being perfected?
Look, from where we stand, we've been talking to partners who are investing in that sector of the industry, and that they're investing in clinical studies, because in the end, it is about creating formulations, isolating or synthesizing those formulations that we can match with indications. And to do that, we need the clinical studies. And that is an investor traditionally in the pharma industry where you can protect your intellectual property. And in the past, this has been the difficulty in the cannabis industry, because there was nothing to be protected but brands. So I do believe that in the medical space, we will see more of that coming in the next 2 or 3 years, definitely more so. And that's going to happen as well as in the States, as well as in Europe. We will be providing that to patients by securing marketing authorizations, licensing product, but we're not doing the research ourselves or development, but we're on that end or of the, say, market access and distribution marketing provider.
Okay, so biosynthesis seems to give the producer of the end product much more protection, whether it's on the process that they create, the substrate that they use, and then the potential for medical trials coming from an already pharmaceutical grade company. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think somewhere in between, what we see is the the organic formulations, so what we call extracts, and which we see now as oils and eventually vaporable oils, and tinctures. This is the go-between step. And biosynthesis will just be more of a scalable process, and thus we will see big pharma getting involved and then creating real alternatives to pain medication and possibly other indications that we just have to explore, secure, and really reliable communicate. At this point, there's a lot of guessing and a lot of no-label prescriptions or off-label prescriptions. I mean, well, the most successful product is Epidiolex, which is a high CBD tincture that is for seizures as a first-line medication, but at the end it's being prescribed for a wide range of indications as an off-label. And with flower, we know it's no-label prescription altogether. So biosynthesis will just streamline the whole process, be more focused and more clear to all or everybody involved: doctors, pharmacists, patients, and caretakers.
Yeah, and it seems to be in the biosynthesis space. So there's a couple of the innovative companies we see are targeting the actual CB1 and CB2 receptors themselves. And based on some research, the focus of 30% of all FDA-approved drugs are focused on receptors. So do you see that as being a new avenue, let's say, for the cannabis industry that is basically untouched as of yet, for the companies to do more research and development and develop products that are going to be able to take patients to the next level of care?
It's not an entirely new approach. I mean, the research of the endocannabinoid system has been going on since, I guess, the 50s, but more recently, we do look not only at the cannabinoids themselves, but also at inhibitors and other forms of or enhancers to utilize these receptors more effectively. Also, in the context of other medications, because it's rarely that it's just a cannabis therapy. It's often a mixed form therapy. So we have to understand how these receptors interact with other forms of medication.
Thank you. So the next topic I wanted to jump onto was sourcing the best products. You guys are a wholesaler, importer, and exporter. Is there a specific process that you guys go to try and find the next best product that's coming to the market? Or is it generally a case of the manufacturers themselves have got good marketing campaigns or have got good outreach programs where they're able to find the companies like yourselves, and you can marry the two companies together?
No, we continue to scout the industry worldwide, and that we do in a couple of levels. On one level is getting the best flower, dried flower, because currently still 2/3 of the market in Germany is dried flowers. And there we had questions of quality, and we still do. As you know, EU GMP in Germany is the required quality level, but at the same time we see GCP to GMP hubs spread all over Europe and the world, and bringing in flower at different levels of quality. And this is something where we're very cautious what we choose, because we have the responsibility towards the patients. So this is one. In tinctures and in extracts, we also look at the process. How's it being processed? Where's it coming from? What's the origin? What kind of biomass is used? Has it been irradiated before or not? And then lastly, what we do is, we look at research. We don't do the research ourselves, but we initiate processes like inhalators, patches, things that we believe will be an important part in the future of the medical cannabis world or medicinal cannabis world. And these are things where we source the right companies, the right technologies, and see how we can implement these technologies in cannabis. Because when you look at it at a pharmaceutical, we do have already established mechanisms of modes of delivery for other medications, and sometimes it's just about understanding that parallel and introducing that to the cannabis world. And that's the third stream of our actions in providing the best sourced medications and therapies for patients and pharmacies and doctors.
We recently saw a sneak preview of some of the German laws, and I was interested to ask you, as somebody who actually wholesales and imports this, where do you think is currently producing the best medical cannabis flower in Europe? Is it the ornamental flower up in Denmark? Is it the likes of Materia Ventures in Malta, who are bringing in low-cost product from South America, Portugal? Where do you see the best flower currently being made? Because we saw in the rules that the German law looks like you have to cultivate within Germany, that there doesn't look like there's going to be any imports.
Yeah, that's, well, now you're referring to the bullet points paper of the government regarding the legalization for the recreational market. And that is due to the international treaties that we have, the Single UN Convention and the Schengen Treaty, that we're not allowed to import for recreational purposes. And we will have to, at least for the time being, cultivate in Germany. That law may change by the time they finally come to terms with legalization, but let's say it is that way. That's only for recreational. Medical cannabis will be still imported from around the world.
Okay.
Currently, I believe the best operation, when you ask me, in Europe, we see very good, reliable product from Portugal. Again, it depends who you talk to in Portugal and what who your partners are. We have a very strong partner with a state-of-the-art facility, the best post-harvest services. So we get our product from Portugal. We do also have product from Denmark, from Netherlands, and I believe, and we're exploring currently the opportunity to import also from Switzerland, EU GMP. The main thing is it has to be really EU GMP, and not just been, let's say, GCP grown and then dried and packaged in the EU GMP facility. That's theoretically that's enough, but practically you have to look at a couple of other aspects for it to really match our quality standards.
Okay, so that's a good bit of clarity. So when it comes to the medical cannabis, you'll still be able to import European cultivated cannabis. It's only the recreational industry where it's going to have to be cultivated within Germany.
Absolutely, because the treaties stand, and we are already importing for the last 2-3 years. So this is a fact that has been never challenged, and there was nobody who, in the right mind, who would minimize the medical market and providing to patients less product. I mean, we do have a tender, or we had a tender. We have 3 cultivators in Germany who also provide to the German market at a set price, and that's fine. And it's about 2.5 tons, from what I understand, per year, in an overall market that has now grown to around 10 tons in flower. I think we imported last year 20 tons, but let's say some of it has been extracted, some of it goes to other countries, some of it is being destroyed because of, say, end of stability. So around 7 to 10 tons apparently last year were sold as dried flower. So there's 2.5 tons Bedrocan, there's 2.5 tons of German grown from Demican, Aurora, and Afrea. That leaves still at least 5 tons that need to be imported in a growing market. So we see a tendency, a necessity also to enable that and just make sure that the quality standards are being, people stick to the quality standards.
Amazing. I know you're a very busy man and we're near reaching our time, so I won't keep you too much longer. If you could predict one good thing that you think is going to happen in the German market over the next 12 months, what would be the one thing that you'd like to see happen?
Well, the next 12 months. Well, hopefully they will go through from discussing the law to actually drafting the law and passing it through the Senate by fall. That would be exactly 12 months. Then we would have reached a lot and established a lot, and we'll be at a different place. But in the meantime, I also believe there will be home grow and social clubs. So these are things not necessarily best for the industry, but good for the patients and good for those who want to have access to the plant.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. For anybody who wants to know more about alephSana, the link to the website is going to be below. And if you're not following Boris already on Twitter, I highly recommend you do. It's one of the top voices in the European medical cannabis sector. Boris, I know you're very busy, so I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but thank you very much for your time. It's been very much appreciated.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Until next episode, everybody.